Hi, I'm Amy, this is The Opinionated Woman, and welcome to my February reading wrap-up. Yes, I'm doing a reading wrap-up. Yeah, bare minimum. Anyway, I should have done one of these in January and December, but shit was crazy. My brain wasn't great, but I am here, and let's get into it right away. So, reading In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. I knew that one was going to be a tough one. I knew it was going to hit me really personally. So I decided, let's line up something nice and fluffy and cute for right after that. So I read Tweet Cute by Emma Lord. This one follows our two main protagonists, Pepper and Jack. Yes, you heard that right. Pepper and Jack. Who are, it's the classic, like, you know, high school nerd, cute boy, blah, blah, blah. I have not read a straight romance in a hot second, especially a straight teen romance. I didn't read anything going into this book as usual. But I think Chelsea recommended it, and I was like, you know what, screw it, let's do it. So Pepper is a nerd, she's a high achiever, and her mom owns this massive burger chain. Jack is from a family that runs their own deli. He's a twin, and he's always in his twin's shadow. And the massive burger company steals the recipe to their signature grilled cheese. And so Pepper and Jack get put in charge of the Twitter accounts for these two businesses, and shenanigans ensue. It was fluffy, it was cute, it was silly, and it was exactly what I needed. So if you need like a pick-me-up book, it's so cute. Next, I read City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert. This one, I think I showed in my book haul. Freaking signed. So this is based, yes, this starts in 1940. We're following Vivian. She's moved to New York from a small town, and she wants to make it in the big city. So she goes and joins her aunt at this playhouse that she runs, and she becomes the seamstress for this playhouse that makes barely any money. And on their off time, her and this showgirl friend of hers basically just go paint the town red. I really wasn't expecting a lot from Elizabeth Gilbert. I've never written from her before. I've never read from her before. You know, I'm not an eat, pray, love kind of vibe person. But this one was really good. I was really impressed that there's sneaky queer rep in here. There's also like the part that goes through the war that gets a little bit more serious, and it actually goes through a lot more of her life than I was anticipating. It's also super sex positive. You know, there's other people like slut shaming and things like that, but it's very evident in this book that the message she's trying to get across is that slut shaming is bullshit, and people should be able to have sex with whoever they want at whatever time, as long as nobody is getting hurt. That was a surprising takeaway that I took from this guy. Then I moved on to The Wicked Cometh by Laura Carlin. This is a historical fiction. It is set in, why do I always need to check? Set in 1831. We follow Hester White, who used to be a parson's daughter until both of her parents died, and she was left destitute. So she had to go live with her, I think it was the head gardener and the head maid from their house. So she's basically living on the streets in the slums, Victorian slums. I mean, it's hectic. And then she nearly gets run down. No, she does. She gets hit by a carriage, and the doctor in the carriage offers to take her in and go and convalesce in his manor house. And his sister Rebecca is meant to teach her how to read so that he can prove that, you know, there is hope for even the most like least educated people of the time. And the relationship that starts to develop between Hester and Rebecca. I really liked this one up until right at the end. Like right at the end, I really wish it had gone slightly differently. I really wish I don't want to spoil things. Because I really think it is worth a read. This is her debut. So I'm hoping in her next one, like, I'll definitely read from her again to see if, you know, she can nail down the ending, because endings must be hard to write. I've never had to write an ending to a book, but, and also look how pretty, this is an unedited proof copy, but look, pretty. Then I started listening to The Kind Worth Killing by Peter Swanson. I accidentally gave Peter Swanson a third try, because what I usually do with an author is I'll listen, or I'll try one of their books. Don't see those, they're not there. I'll try one or two of their books, and if the first one doesn't work for me, I'll give them a second shot, and then I'll generally be like, nah, you know what, this author's not for me. I thought I'd only read one from Peter Swanson. Turns out I'd read two and disliked both of them. But I gave Pete another try, accidentally, and he actually came through with a banger ending. Like, this is what I've been wanting from his stories this entire time. And he actually did it in The Kind Worth Killing. But what's really strange for me is that this is his second book, and the ones that I've read are more recent, and they're the ones I don't like. So will I read another Peter Swanson? We'll have to see. This one, another thing that bugged me is this is another one that is inspired by Strangers on a Train by Patricia Highsmith. And that's another book that he brings in his 8 Perfect Murders. And I'm like, come now, Pete. Come up with your own ideas here, bruh. So this starts with Lily and Ted meeting at an airport, and he, you know, starts to open up to her because she's a complete stranger. He thinks she's never going to see her again, and he talks about how he wants to kill his wife because he's caught her cheating. And then we go from there. It really didn't go the way I thought at all. Like, at all. There's multiple different perspectives that aren't anticipated from the very beginning, which I really appreciated. And if you don't like a book that has 0 good characters in it, like good as in good people, these characters are well fleshed out, they're well written, they're not good people, and I'm totally fine with that. I love a shitty main character, like an unreliable main character, an unlikable main character. So if you like that kind of thing, give The Kind Worth Killing a shot. It has twists and turns all over the place, and the ending. Then I read the last book on my old books from when I moved to Cape Town 6 years ago. So that's been my pile of shame. So this is Vittorio the Vampire by Anne Rice. It's got some beautiful deckled edges. I'd never read from Anne Rice before. So it's called Vittorio the Vampire. So I figured, okay, we're going to follow Vittorio, who is a vampire. No, we're going to follow Vittorio before he becomes a vampire. It says that in the blurb, but I didn't read the blurb because I'm not going to repeat it again. That's what I do. And I will say there are a lot more angels in here than vampires. A lot of Bible verse, which I really wasn't expecting. And then as seems to be common in Anne Rice's work, just from what I've heard, obviously not from what I've read myself, inappropriate sexual moments. So I think I mentioned in my vlog, like when you're writing fiction and you're going to want to have a sexual encounter, why make one of the characters 16? Like, you could just bump it up a scooch and make it not creepy. And this really, I think it was supposed to be like a passionate moment. I don't know, but it really made me laugh. Where she's like, this vampire is leaning in the window and she just like gets her boobs out. It was a bit weird, but yeah, it didn't go how I expected it to go. But if there's any Anne Rice that you think I should read, that are her like main ones I should focus on. Otherwise, I might not read her again. We'll see how we go. We'll see how we go. Then I read Freshwater by Akwaeke Emezi. This book, I do not have sufficient words to describe this book. I tried for like 2 vlogs to try and describe this book, but basically we were following Ada. And Ada is a person who is born with gods inside them. And these gods lay dormant until something happens to her that is traumatic, and it awakens the gods within her. And it's written from the gods' perspective, not from Ada's perspective. So we see different parts of her they call her her, but there's so many of them. They also talk in the collective we, which is really interesting. And it's intersectional as hell. There's a non-binary main character, and a black main character. Akwaeke Emezi is Nigerian, and it's so lyrical and perfect and poignant and sad. And I listened to the ending twice. Like, that's how much it hit me. And I think between this and In the Dream House, like, those are two that could be my favorite books of the year so far, and it's only February. So that's pretty incredible. I really don't think anything that I say is going to do this book justice. Just do yourself a favor. Akwaeke Emezi is an author you need on your radar right now, and for the rest of time. Then I read Please Look After Mother by Kyung-Sook Shin, translated by Chi-Young Kim from Korean. I'm actually reading another translated Korean work at the moment, but I'll talk about that in a vlog and in next week's wrap up, next month's wrap up. Jesus, I'm gonna wrap up every week. So this is following Sonyo. So, well, it's not really. Sonyo goes missing. She is the mother. And we follow 3 different perspectives. It's all written in the third person. So it really challenges you more than like a first person or a third person would, because it's slightly out of the box. And it manages to paint such a beautiful picture of motherhood and of how we see our mothers and what we don't see about them as our mothers, like what's behind their label of mother and what makes them who they are and what background she came from. So it jumps between the present and the past to get memories from different people, and the different way that they view her. And it's so immaculately crafted that it's got metaphor in here, it's got practical, actual things that are happening, and the metaphor built into those, and it very complexly goes into different relationships between her and the other people in her life, and the relationship with herself as well. So I mean, this packs such a punch in like 300 and something pages. I cannot recommend this enough, and I'm going to be reading more of Kyung-Sook Shin for sure. And now I can say her name properly because I'm not being a freaking basic white bitch. Well done, Amy. Bare minimum, saying someone's name right. And finally, the book that I finished yesterday was 3 Things About Elsie by Joanna. This follows Florence, and she lives in an old age home run by a couple of different people that we get perspectives from as well. And a new resident appears at the old age home, and she recognized them from her past. And the mystery plays out from there. But what's really interesting about this, first of all, is it's funny as hell. It's like just the everyday little features that make this really stand out. I loved it, and I had a good old chuckle. There's a couple of things that I quoted in my last vlog. It's in there. I just keep plugging the vlogs. My vlogs are cool, I reckon. I like watching it. So if you want to see, you can go back to there. But what's cool about this mystery is it's not a mystery because our main character doesn't know what happened. So 100% our character does know what has happened, but she can't remember because she's suffering with dementia. So we go on this little romp of what happened and discovery, and it really has a commentary on, how old people are left behind and often, left to fend for themselves and shelved away in these places where they feel at threat, where they're losing their sense of identity. And we're also getting some things flash back into the past as Florence remembers things, and we get a present narrative where she's had a fall and she's on the floor and she's looking under the sideboard and she can see all of the stuff that has fallen underneath there, and she keeps on fixating on that and keeps on playing in her head all the different ways that she could be found. I won't tell you any more than that because I think it's cool to find out all of these things as you go along, but I thought it was really delicately handled and really put a spotlight on a group of people that aren't always given a spotlight, you know, and really gives you more of it had kind of a hopeful ending for a story that could have gone very sadly. Sadly? Is that a word? I think it's a word. Yes, it is a word. I'm not a writer for a living or anything. So it's one of those books you can laugh, you can cry, you can just have a good old time with a cast of absolutely lovable characters. And I enjoyed it thoroughly. So I highly recommend that one as well. And with that, we are done. This is all of the books that I read in February. What did you read in February? Did you read any of these? Do you like them? Whatever you feel like, leave me a comment down below. So I'm going to leave it there. So be kind to people, be kind to yourself. Wear a mask. We'll see you next time.